back to Scott's Wing Sports Today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back here with my dad today. It's time to do our college football and NFL predictions. Let's get into those right now. First game out, our non-top 25 game of the week, UCF and Louisville in the Bounce House Friday night. I'm going to take UCF big in this game. I think Louisville looked absolutely horrible last Saturday against Syracuse, so I'll go with UCF at home to get it done.
I think UCF's also going to win, but I won't say big. I think Syracuse is a tough place to play on the road. So Louisville did not look good, but I think it's going to be a close game, touchdown, 10-point type of game.
Yep. Next up, same here. I think that'll be about it. Next up, Kentucky and Florida. I picked Kentucky at the beginning of the season, and I'm not going to change now. I'm going to take Kentucky to pull off the upset here on the road. I think Florida looked really good on Saturday night, but I don't think that they're going to win here. I'll take Kentucky on the road over Florida.
I'd love for Terry Jewell's sake to pick Kentucky, but I just saw Florida beat the number 7 team in the country. Maybe Utah was overrated, maybe they weren't. But since this is in the swamp, I'm going to take Florida here. I think Kentucky's a very good team, but I think Florida's got a little mojo going. Give me the Gators.
Next up, Arkansas State and Ohio State. Noon on the Big Ten Network. I'm going to go with Ohio State. I think they looked a little bit rusty last week, but I think they played much better this week. I'm going to take Ohio State at home.
Yeah, if this is Arkansas, maybe it'd be a better game, but it's Arkansas State, so Ohio State wins big.
Next up, Southern Miss and Miami. Miami probably the second best team in the ACC this year. I'm going to take the Canes at home. I think they looked very good last week. I'm going to take Miami at home over Southern Miss.
I agree with Scott. Southern Miss is not up to the caliber of Miami. I think Miami's a little overrated, honestly, but Southern Miss is not a very good team. Give me the Canes.
Next up, the first SEC game of the season is it'll be South Carolina and Arkansas. Noon on ESPN. I'm going to go with Arkansas to get the win here. I think Arkansas really showed me something last week against Cincinnati. I'll go with Arkansas at home over South Carolina.
I think these are two programs going in the opposite direction. I think the Razorbacks are trending up. South Carolina is either flat or trending down. So give me the Razorbacks on this one.
Next up, Wake Forest and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt 2-0 after a very good start. I'm going to go with Wake Forest, even though they're without their starting quarterback. I feel like they'll be okay. I'll go with Wake Forest on the road to get it done against Vandy.
I'm going to pick the upset here. Vandy's got on a roll. They're 2-0. I think obviously two top-notch academic schools. I think Vanderbilt's going to get the win here.
Next up, Charleston Southern and NC State. NC State coming off that 1-point win last week. Thank you very much for beating East Carolina for us. I'll take NC State at home over Charleston Southern.
Yeah, NC State was gifted that win. I felt terrible for the East Carolina kicker. With that said, I think NC State's going to be too much for Charleston Southern.
Next up, Southern Utah going in to Salt Lake City to take on Utah after that tough loss last week. I think I'll take Utah at home. I think Utah is going to be very good this year still. Still probably the best team in the Pac-12. I'll take Utah at home over Southern Utah here.
Until this pick right now, I'm not sure I've ever heard of Southern Utah, so that will tell you where I'm going to pick. I'm going to take the Utes as well. Utah wins big.
Next up, Marshall and Notre Dame on the Notre Dame Broadcasting Channel, NBC. I'm going to take the Irish. I think Notre Dame really surprised a lot of people last week with how good they looked against Ohio State for about 3 quarters. I'll take Notre Dame at home over Marshall.
I agree. This is a mismatch. Notre Dame has better athletes, a better program. Give me Notre Dame.
Next up, Furman and Clemson. We haven't seen Clemson play yet. They play tonight against Georgia Tech, but I don't think it'll matter. I'll take Clemson here at home over Furman.
So we have a friend, son, Matt Hedrick's son, plays a third-string quarterback for Furman. Unfortunately, it's not going to make a difference. Clemson's just too good. Give me Clemson Tigers.
Next up, Appalachian State and Texas A&M. Texas A&M looked a little bit sluggish last week. I'm going to take Texas A&M though at home over App State, who looked pretty good last week.
Texas A&M probably was overlooking App State, but then App State gave North Carolina a tough game this last week. I think Texas A&M will be awake and alert, and I think they'll beat App State by at least 2 touchdowns.
Next up, Tennessee and Pitt, one of the bigger games of the weekend. After what I saw on Thursday night, I'm going to take Josh Heupel and Tennessee to pull off the upset here on the road. I think Tennessee looked very good last week. I'm going to take Tennessee in the upset over Pitt.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to Pitt had a really, really tough test in week 1. They're playing at Pittsburgh, so I'm going to go with Pitt over Tennessee, but this one's going to be a close game.
Next up, Washington State and Wisconsin. Give me Wisconsin at home. I think Wisconsin finds a way to win this game. I think it should be a good game, though.
I agree with Scott. I think Wisconsin generally up front is just too strong for most of their opponents, and I think Washington State will be no different. I like the Badgers.
Next up, Kennesaw State and Cincinnati. Cincinnati coming off a loss to Arkansas last week. I would love to see Kennesaw State win this game and end Cincinnati's season right here, but I don't think that'll matter. I'll take Cincinnati at home over Kennesaw State here.
I agree. I think Cincinnati's got too much talent. They take the win against Kennesaw.
Next up, Stanford and Georgia. Georgia looked very good last week against Oregon. I'm going to take Georgia again to get a blowout win here over Stanford.
Doesn't matter if it's Stanford or Stanford. Georgia gets the win. They're one of the top 3 teams in the country.
Next up, Akron and Michigan State. I'm going to go with Michigan State here to get the win here at home. I think Michigan State's going to find a way to get a win here at home over Akron.
I like the Zips. I like their name, but unfortunately, I think Michigan State's too talented. Give me the Spartans.
Next up, Houston and Texas Tech. Unfortunately, I'm going to go with Houston. I think Houston looked very good last week against a much tougher opponent. I'm going to go with Houston on the road to get it done in Lubbock against Texas Tech.
I got a different take on Houston than Scott. I think Houston actually struggled against a team that's not that good. I think Texas Tech's going to get the win at home.
They won 12-1 last year. Did the UTSA team?
Oh, I know, but against a weak schedule.
Yeah. Next up, Kent State and Oklahoma. I'm going to go with Oklahoma. I think Dillon Gabriel looked pretty good last week. I'm going to go with Oklahoma to get it done at home.
I agree. I mean, they're playing Kent State. That's all you need to know. Oklahoma gets the win.
Next up, Ole Miss and Central Arkansas. I'm going to go with Ole Miss at home. I think no problems here at home.
This is a week of really weak matchups. Central Arkansas. Again, I'm not sure if you even heard of Central Arkansas until this week. Ole Miss wins big.
Next up, Oklahoma State and Arizona State. 2 teams coming off a win last week. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State here at home. I don't trust Emory Jones. I don't think he'll play as well as he did last week. I'm going to take Oklahoma State at home over Arizona State here.
If this game was on the road at Arizona State, I might give Arizona State a chance, but Oklahoma State plays too tough at home. Give me the Cowboys.
Next up, in one of the bigger rivalries in college football, if both teams are good, it's USC and Stanford. Give me Lincoln Riley in at USC to get the win here on the road. I think USC will get a win here out on the road against Stanford.
I think coaching and leadership matters. I think USC is going to be much better under Lincoln Riley. I like USC as well.
Next up, Hawaii and Michigan. Ted McNamara probably gets the start this week after they went with J.J. McCarthy last week. I'm going to go with Michigan at home over Hawaii.
I agree. Hawaii's a great place to live, but they don't have a great football team. Give me Michigan.
Next up, Eastern Washington heading into Oregon to Autzen Stadium to take on the Ducks. I'm going to go with Oregon at home. I think Oregon did not look good last week. Absolutely horrible performance last week against Georgia. I'm going to go with Oregon at home over Eastern Washington.
They were embarrassed last week. They're going to play angry. They're going to play with a chip on their shoulder. They're going to blow out Eastern Washington.
Next up, BYU and Baylor. Just because we're moving into the Big 12 next year, I got to root for the Big 12 teams. I'm going to go with Baylor on the road to get it done against BYU.
Oh, won't BYU also be a Big 12 team?
Yes.
Okay. I actually think Baylor is a better team. I think Baylor's going to win on the road against BYU.
And now the College Game Day game of the week. College Game Day will be there Saturday morning, bright and early in Austin, Texas, as it'll be number 1 Alabama heading in to take on Texas. I'm going to go with Alabama big in this game. Alabama gets an easy win this week over Texas.
If this game is played 3 years from now, the way Texas is trending, I think Texas would give them the game, but Texas is not quite there yet. I think Alabama wins probably by 3 touchdowns.
Now into the NFL games for the weekend. The NFL is back. First game out, Bills and Rams, Thursday Night Football.
Ooh, that's a good game.
Give me Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to pull off the upset here. I think the Bills are the better team. Too many guys living in the offseason for the Rams. I'm going to go with the Bills on the road over the Rams.
This is potentially a Super Bowl preview.
Yep.
But I think the Bills, I agree with Scott, are the better team. I think they're coming in with a chip on their shoulder. I think the Bills get the win here.
Next up, Sunday Night Football. Tom Brady and the Bucs heading in to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. I'm going to go with Tom Brady and the Bucs to get the win. Tom Brady's never lost to the Cowboys. I don't think he starts it here. I'm going to go with Tom Brady to win, to find a way to get a close win here on the road at Dallas to start the season off 1-0.
I've got some real concerns with the Bucks in terms of their injuries on the line, and then also Brady with the distractions. So it would not surprise me to see the Cowboys win this game. With that said, I'm going to pick the Bucks in a really close one, kind of a last-second field goal kind of win.
Next up, Jameis Winston and the Saints heading into Atlanta to take on the Falcons. A lot of people are raving about how good the Saints are this year. I'm going to go with Jameis and the Saints to get it done on the road over Atlanta.
Yeah, I think New Orleans is a good team, not a great team. I think the Falcons are a bad team. So I do think that the Saints will also go into Atlanta and win.
Next up, Trey Lance and the 49ers heading into Chicago to take on the Bears. Give me Trey Lance and the Niners to get it done on the road against the Bears.
I don't want to seem like Scott's trained monkey. I keep repeating what he says, but I agree. I think the 49ers are better than the Bears, so I think the 49ers get the win on the road.
Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers heading into Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Give me Joe Burrow and the Bengals to get a win here at home over the Steelers.
My apologies to Terry Jewell. Usually he and he alone can carry the Steelers to a victory, but against the Bengals at home with Joe Burrow, actually I take that back. Terry Jewell will get the win for the Steelers. That's my upset special of the week. The Steelers on the road.
Next up, the Philadelphia Eagles heading in to Detroit to take on the Lions. Give me Jalen Hurts, my sleeper MVP this year. I'm going to go Jalen Hurts and the Eagles to get it done on the road over the Lions.
I'm going to pick an upset here. I think the Lions are going to get the win against the Eagles. I think the Eagles are going to start slow, and I think the Lions are going to come up and grab a win.
What he's saying is he just wants me to lose in fantasy this week, so that's why he's picking that. Next up, the New England Patriots heading into Miami to take on the new-look Miami Dolphins. I think the weather's going to be the big reason here. I'm going to take Tua and the Dolphins at home over New England.
Even when the Patriots were good, they struggled against Miami for whatever reason. It typically was on the road against Miami. So I also will take the Dolphins in this one.
Next up, Lamar Jackson looking for a new contract as he heads in. Same with the Ravens head into MetLife Stadium to take on Zach Wilson, I guess, and the Jets. I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to get it done on the road over the Jets.
Unfortunately, I think for the Jets, they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. The Ravens will be one of the better teams. I like the Ravens.
Next up, the Jacksonville Jaguars heading into Washington to take on the Commanders. Give me Trevor Lawrence and the Jags to get it done on the road over the Commanders.
It's just two pretty mediocre to below average teams, but Commanders are at home, so I'm going to give the Commanders a slight edge in this one.
Next up, the Cleveland Browns heading in to Carolina to take on, ironically, Baker Mayfield and the Panthers. The first revenge game of the year of the week one, which there is a lot of them this week. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers at home. I think Baker Mayfield's going to prove a point to the Browns that they should never let him go. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield and the Panthers at home over the Browns.
I think the Browns are a better overall team than the Panthers. I agree. Mayfield's going to play with a chip on his shoulder, but I think it's going to make him force balls into coverages. He's going to throw 2 or 3 picks. So give me the Browns in this one.
Next up, the Indianapolis Colts heading in to Houston to take on the Houston Texans. Give me Matt Ryan and the Indianapolis Colts to get the win here. I think Matt Ryan will look good this year with the Colts. I'm going to go with Matty Ice and the Colts on the road over the Texans.
I agree with Scott. I think the Colts are actually a playoff team. Not necessarily a division winner, but maybe a wild card team. But I think the Colts are going to get the win.
Next up, the New York Giants heading into Nashville to take on the Titans. The Titans' offensive line kind of worries me a little bit, but I don't think it'll matter this way. Give me Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and the Tennessee Titans to get it done at home over the Giants.
I think this is going to be a close game because of the line problems that Scott mentioned, but Tennessee tends to win close games, so I think they'll win a close one at home against the Giants.
Next up, the Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers heading into Minnesota to take on the Vikings. Here's my upset pick of the week. I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook and the Minnesota Vikings to pull off the upset at home. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has his receivers ready. I don't think he has enough chemistry with his receivers yet. I'm going to go with the Vikings at home over the Packers.
I'm actually surprised that Green Bay is a favorite in this game just because of what Scott mentioned, and it is It is at home in Minnesota. I actually like the Vikings as well. I think they should be the favorite in this game, and they will win this game.
Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs heading in to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. Give me Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to get it done on the road over the Cardinals.
I think Kansas City has heard a lot of talk about how they're not going to be as good this year since they lost Tyreek Hill. They're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. Mahomes has a big game. I like the Chiefs.
Next up, another revenge game. It'll be Derek Carr and the Raiders heading in to SoFi Stadium to take on Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Give me the Chargers at home to avenge that Week 18 loss they had last year that left them out of the playoffs. I'm going to go with Justin Herbert and the Chargers at home over the Raiders.
In my mind, the AFC West is the best division of football this year. It's going to be the most exciting to watch. I could go either way on this game. I'm only going to go with the Chargers because they're at home. But if the Raiders won on the road, it wouldn't shock me.
Next up, in another revenge game, Monday Night Football. I'll probably be watching the Manning cast this week, as it'll be Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos heading in to Seattle to take on Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. Give me Russell Wilson and the Broncos to get it done on the road over the Seahawks.
I agree. I think Denver's the better team. They also now have the better quarterback. I think the Broncos go on the road. It's tough to win in Seattle, but I think they will win a close one in Seattle.
And that will do it for this episode of Scott's Winning Sports Today, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back next week with some more NFL predictions and more college football predictions. And I'll see you guys right back here next week on Scott's Winning Sports. See you later, guys.
See you guys.